Now every wood shop needs clamps, and my wood shop's no exception. I've decided to hang my clamps on the wall. They used to all sit in a pile on the floor when I was at home and I had no hanging space. So this is a project that I've always wanted to do. So I've got 10 of these pipe clamps, which were the original clamps that I used to use until I was introduced to the Bessey K body clamps, and now I swear by them, and I rarely go back to my pipe clamps. I only use them when I have to. I've got four Bessey 1.5 meter K body clamps and two of the smaller 1.2 meter K body clamps, and 10 of the pipe clamps. So I've got the smaller F clamps and G clamps as well, but this video is about making a hanging system for the pipe clamps and the F body clamps.
The first thing we're going to do is to cut the two baseboards, the top being 200 mils wide by 1200 long and the bottom 100 mils wide by 1200 long. This is a 19 mil plywood piece of scrap that I salvaged from a construction site. Next step is to cut the two shelves, which are 100 mils by 1200 mils long. The next step is to then mark out where all the clamps go on the shelf. We're using 80mm centers, so it's 8 centimeters between each of the clamps. The Bessey clamps are marked, they sit 30 mils proud of the actual shelf, and the pipe clamps are 40 mils proud of the shelf. My table saw won't take a dado blade, so I've got to cut the thickness in two passes. Now the Bessey clamps have got a 8mm beam, and the pipe clamps are 1 inch in diameter. Now I'm using 1 inch speed bore there because that's the largest one I have, and a 10mm drill bit. I then use the table saw set at the correct height to take a bit more than just the 25 mils. The pipe clamps is 25 mils or 1 inch in diameter, so I'm just going a bit outside where the speed bore has drilled the hole. Now once we've got the shelves cut, we then cut the bracing to hold, or the 45-degree angles to hold the shelf in place. And this is my homemade miter jig. We then glue and screw all the parts together. I just use white PVA to glue or this is the bottom shelf here, bit of PVA and some chipboard screws to hold it in place. 40mm chipboard screws is what I'm using. I then glue and screw all the brackets in place. On the bottom shelf I put the brackets in every second clamp. The bottom shelf is really just to hold the clamps so that they stay vertical. There's really not much need to put a bracket in between every single clamp. Now this is the top shelf. I've decided to use a bracket for every single, in between every single clamp. The clamps are quite heavy. They're generally between 5 to 10 kilos each, and if you don't put the brackets in, the fingers tend to crumble away or break after time. So, and in this situation I've just gone and put a bracket in between every single clamp. In installing the top shelf, I use a level to make sure that the top shelf is true. Then I use 6 dyno bolts to hold that top shelf in place. Once that top shelf is in place, I then put the clamps up and go for a dry run. As you can see, the clamps are already looking pretty good, but with that bottom shelf, it makes it sit even more neater every time. So that's why I've decided to put a bottom shelf in, just to keep everything parallel. With a bottom shelf, all I need is 3 dyno bolts rather than 6. It's taking no weight at all, it's just stopping the clamps from looking messy. Once all the bolts are tightened, then that's it. The project's finished. Put all the clamps on the shelf, and as you can see, it looks pretty neat and tidy now. Remember, if you like this video, just like us on Facebook. You can find us by searching Timberbits, or hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Thank you.